we would shame people if they didn't drink it in a different way than we do this way. Anyway, NBA Strategy Show, Wednesday, November 29th. Oh boy, that was quite the intro. Underdog is the sponsor. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We've got another awesome slate in terms of games. The games themselves and the slate itself, very hard like it was yesterday. I don't know how you pay up for anybody unless we get a little bit more information. 7 games ahead of us. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Adam, what's up?
How's it going, man? Congrats on the Showdown win last night.
Woke up to a nice dub. Me and 10 of my closest friends, or 11, whatever it was. Yeah, that was, I don't know if I had to sweat that. I don't know if I got it on that final basket. No idea how it shook out. I should probably ask other people that won that would have been paying attention, but I was long since asleep. I woke up to that one, which was fun. So it makes me feel a little bit better about not winning $100,000 the day before that by just not listening. But tonight, it's fine. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time the night is over. I can't wait to see the look on your face when I do that.
I was thinking about that earlier. We had that whole conversation where I was like, oh yeah, but if you had made $200K at football, I'd have still been pissed. If you win $1 million, I'm going to be fucking livid.
Yeah. Who's more likely to take off tomorrow if I win the milli, me or you?
Guys, I can't do this shit.
Yeah. The shame I feel and anger is going to just be on it, and I'll just be out partying, having fun. Actually, honestly, the more likely scenario would be that I would wake up to find out that it happened. Yeah, so we got a milli tonight on the DK side. Some of these games are just next level gross, and you and I have been down this road before, but it's a Jaren Jackson Jr. night tonight.
Yeah, been there once or twice.
On purpose this time, though. Not Jaren Jackson's 1% owned. We have 75% of him.
Yeah, that was a fun season.
Oh, man, we were... Will we look back at 2023 the same way, like a couple years from now? Or are we just like, we're good now and we just thought we were good then?
I think we have a better idea now of... Because like we were doing the right thing then, just not controlling it well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think we have a better idea now of just like how to fix things.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I thought Kevin Love wasn't going to start. That was not what I disagreed with, but you'll probably say that's what I was. I said I didn't think they were going to put Giannis or Bam on Giannis. Kevin Love started. I mean, they could have started anybody. It didn't really matter to me. But that was not what I disagreed with. Check the tape. That chat still exists. Didn't matter. I faded him anyway.
I thought so. To be fair, I thought you were referring to Love too, because I think you just said something like, "I don't know why they would want to do that."
Yeah, no, it was playing guarding Giannis with Bam. You guard Giannis with Bam, you're dead at the rim. When everybody else is also out. When you got nobody left, man, the rest of your team is just going to get to the rim willy-nilly. Oh, man. You want to break this one down? We don't have anything behind us. Easy day, but this slate is disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, those are, like I said yesterday, I think those slates are tough to break down because they require so much nuance and stuff, but I like playing those slates, so yeah, let's talk about it.
How are you going to call me kid? I'm 38 years old. What are we doing here? I assume I'm older than you. I have no idea if that's true, though. Like your arguments are usually like that of a teenager, so I just assume you're young. Me? No, Josh Gillum.
I say I don't even see him in chat.
If only, dude. If only. The Los Angeles Lakers are 7-point favorites in Detroit, 229 total. This one feels ripe for...
Oh, because I'm on the wrong day. That's why.
Great work there. Great work.
Watching the wrong YouTube show.
33, calling me kid. This fucking guy. AD probable. LeBron questionable. Cam Reddish probable. Actually, let me grab the most updated version of this bad boy. Not that information has changed. No Rui, no Jared Vanderbilt, no Gabe Vincent. 16% ownership coming in to Cam Reddish. Actually, I also have contest generator ownership locked and loaded, but basically, 5 to 10% ownership coming into the entire Lakers team. And much like 2 nights ago when they played, it's all the same to me. I don't have these dudes. One share of LeBron, three of D'Angelo Russell. It's a great spot in that Detroit's not that good of a defense, but they are live to just like not put the pedal to the metal in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty appealing spot. Like you said, they're not a good defense. You have obviously good players in Davis and LeBron in particular. You have secondary pieces that can certainly get it done as well, but just none of it looks like too much of a priority here. Reddish, if he's in, shooting guard, small forward, 4,700 looks pretty useful if he's starting. He's getting 14% ownership, 18% chance of being optimal. Looks pretty far and away like the guy that you would get to the most. Anthony Davis getting 10% ownership, LeBron at 9, Russell at 9. Davis is projected to go a bit under-owned, 13.5% chance of being optimal for him. Should have a solid game here, obviously. But 9,800 cents are only on DraftKings, so the opportunity cost is a little bit higher. On FanDuel, has power forward eligibility, I believe. At least he normally does. I'm double checking that now, but
he does.
Yeah, 10-6. So he's $800 more, but does have power forward eligibility. So he's going to look a little bit better on FanDuel than he does on DraftKings, but certainly happy to get to him. It just looks like a team where you have a lot of secondary options for the most part.
Yeah, and like AD and LeBron are basically De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis today. They're both at like the exact same salary, like a comparable per minute dudes. And you just like, oh, this whole area is just inundated with like high 9s, low 10 salary dude. It's like, okay, how do I separate these guys? And as of right now, I'm not really getting to the Lakers with any sort of volume. Not that I would mind going up against Detroit, but it's tricky, especially if Reddish is back now. I do think Reddish grades out as like a solid enough value. He's been bad, 0.69 fantasy points per minute on the season for Reddish. Not that he's been much better in his previous life, but getting those minutes and everything correct. By the way, Reddish coming back, left groin strain. Not sure how they'll handle his minutes or anything coming off a lower body injury, but hasn't been gone for that long. So guessing
I think
it doesn't
whether or
matter
not
too
he
much.
starts probably is a good indicator of what they're doing.
Yeah, so he's missed 3 straight plus basically most of a fourth game. Somewhere in that 28 to 30 range feels about right for him in this first game back. And again, you're not, of all the games, I don't think you're putting the pedal to the metal against the team on the 14-game losing streak.
Yeah, you would think not. Although the Lakers did just get embarrassed.
That's also true. If you're ever going to put it in like mild cruise control, this is the one to do it, rolling into Detroit tonight. Detroit side is a little bit different. DraftKings still wants us to have the Jaden Ivey experience. 5,700 point guard, shooting guard, projected for 30% ownership. I have 79 at this moment, and I don't think that that's all that crazy because he just continues to play 30 to 32 minutes and start and be a good per minute dude. 14% ownership coming into Jalen Duren at 6,900, who got real minutes in his return. Not much ownership coming in elsewhere. I've got some Cade. Let's start with Ivy. Just very clearly at this point, one of the best plays on the slate.
Yeah, still looks really, really good. Obviously the ownership is kind of the only factor that you need to consider there. As far as a negative, he's going to be really popular, but the playing time's been there. The production is there. The price tag isn't really moving. So Ivy still looks very good. 18% chance of being optimal, 30% ownership. Point guard, shooting guard, 5,700. All of that looks good. Duren at 6,900 looks pretty good as well. We'll have his hands full on the defensive end, but as long as he can avoid foul trouble, you're likely looking at 30 plus minutes. On average this year in his starts, he's averaged about 29 minutes per game. That, of course, accounts for games where there was foul trouble. So 29, 30-minute projection makes sense, but certainly has the ability to play more minutes if he does avoid any foul trouble. Good point per minute guy at 6,900. So I think those two probably look the best. Cade salary came up a little bit. We have him projected to be a little bit under-owned, but still a relatively low probability play. Same goes for Asar Thompson, Livers, Stewart. All these guys just low-owned, slightly under-owned, but still pretty low probability plays.
By the way, DNP from Bagley last time out.
Yeah, they went to Wiseman.
Yeah, and I think I saw a quote like they just wanted to get Wiseman some run. I don't know if it's permanent. Doesn't really matter, but if Wiseman's the flat 3K, like there's like a twinge of mattering. Where do you land on the in-season tournament? Tokyo Swan said it's the dumbest thing the NBA's ever done. I love it.
I don't care about it at all, other than I hate watching the games because the courts suck.
Yeah, I hate the courts. I look at it like this. Every game is at worst the exact same situation that it would have been, whether it was a regular season game or not, or it's more interesting because teams are actually playing for something.
I do certainly get entertainment value out of Andre Drummond being, hack a Drummond with 7 minutes to go in a 30-point game and Billy Donovan crying about it.
It's the best, man. Like this, it's the end of that Cavs game. Like they were just letting it fly, just coming off a screen, pew, throw that shit up there, just doing everything they could for point differential. I am completely in for it. But yeah, there's no downside. It doesn't invalidate the game, but the games that mattered, like the games where people had stuff going on, they were treating that game unequivocally differently than they normally do. It was like a game one of a playoff series instead of just a random regular season game. Whatever they can do to make the players care more, that's great.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it was Wob tweeted that they need to come up with a way to just better explain to fans what they're rooting for, like with point differential and stuff, because
they need that shit on the screen.
Right. Like it's different than soccer. You can't just like, oh, there was a goal. Let me see what's going on in the other game where there probably hasn't been a goal for 40 minutes. It's obviously just changing constantly.
Yeah. And look, this is the first year they've done it. Like you got to learn those lessons and then come back the next year with a very different vibe to it all. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of it all. I expect next week's playoff, I think those games are going to be awesome. You're getting a bunch of really good teams playing against each other. Like I expect the final on Saturday, solo game. We're probably going to get a really awesome showdown slate for that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that I hate. Like, I don't want any of that shit. I want actual DFS slates.
Yeah, I can handle a championship solo slate
I'm not gonna
on a
watch
Saturday. You're not going to watch Celtics Lakers or something on Saturday if it's a good game?
I could not care less.
Crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. There's going to be so much good basketball next week because of this. But you weren't going to watch it anyway. You don't care in general.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I don't watch that much anyway, but I'm definitely not just going to watch some random island basketball game in November.
Next week is
December.
2 games, 2 games, 11 games, 2 games, 11 games.
Yeah,
that's our
absolutely.
Week.
Like as much as I enjoy the Drummond being fouled up by 30, I would give that up for just 7 and 8 game slates all week.
Yeah, agreed. I don't love it, but it's really not great for content. If we're being honest, it makes everything really bleak and shitty. The 11 game slates will be fine. It's whatever. That's just short of it being really awful. Anything else you want to touch on for the Pistons?
No.
Perfect. Well, schedule for the rest of the day. There's only 2 more live shows. Adam and I will be back at 5 o'clock for the deeper dive, and Live Before Lock will be back at 6 o'clock because that's it. We just got NBA and nothing else today. Deeper dive at 5, Live Before Lock at 6. Don't be afraid to use the avatar. Go to stokastic.com/avatar. Hook that logo up at DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever site you're playing on. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest that has 5,000 or more entries, you win a free month of a Stokastic package of your choice. It's a no-brainer. This costs you absolutely nothing, $0. But all you have to do is do that and then tweet your result at StokasticHOF. We want to promote you. It helps us as well. And that's all you have to do to get yourself basically $200 value. It's that easy. Join it. Join the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately for me, my showdown win from last night would not be a part of the Hall of Fame. Chopped with too many people. And trust me, I would have preferred to chop with less. That would have been great for me as well. Your Washington Wizards are on this slate, which means that the team that they're playing looks awesome. They are 10-point dogs in Orlando, 234 total. Highest owned guy on Washington, 7% owned Gafford, 7% owned Gallo. That's 12 to Kuzma on FanDuel. I have a very small amount of Washington. They are facing a team that's at least neutral in pace, really good defensively this season for Orlando. It's a bad spot for Washington.
Yeah. So just quickly for that Lakers-Detroit game, I'm like half the field on Jaden Ivey right now. That's probably not really surprising to anybody. No. I'm getting a lot of Davis. I'm getting 18% LeBron. So I'm over the field on both of those guys, but not getting too much from those games. I just wanted Ivy's another one of those where he's a really good point per dollar play. He's really popular. I'm just not getting as much as the field. But to get back to the Washington side. Getting a couple of guys here a lot, but
Okay.
other than that, not too much exposure to Washington. The field's not getting here at all. But Daniel Gafford, 5,800, 7% ownership projection, 10.5% chance of being optimal. I'm getting to about 25% right now. Certainly something that could change by lock. He's a center. There's going to be plenty of those. But with the way he's projected right now and the ownership he's getting, looks like a good contrarian play to me. Similarly, Kuzma, 4.5% owned at 8,600, 9% chance of being optimal. I have 16% of him. Never somebody I mind getting to, just 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Loses minutes sometimes because the Wizards suck and get blown out. They are 9 to 10 point dogs here, but at that ownership, I like getting to both of those guys. Other than that, though, it's kind of just mixing in small amounts of Gallinari, Koulibaly, Avdia, Poole, Kispert, Jones, but Gafford and Kuzma are the guys standing out to me right now.
Yeah, they are to me, the two best options that are here. I don't even think they look good. That's really the issue here for me. 5% Gafford. I got 3% Koulibaly, which is random. A share of Denny, a share of Poole. No Kuzma, which certainly didn't go well for me last time. But there are just a couple other places that are more interesting. And we've got a lot of news that we're waiting on. For Orlando, still no Wendell Carter Jr., no Fultz. Q tag on John Isaac, which isn't really all that much of a piece of information. 20% ownership coming into Franz Wagner, Gary Harris, Goga Batadze, Jalen Suggs, and Paolo Banchero, along with 25 to Cole Anthony. I have matched the field on Anthony, 2x Franz Wagner, close to 2x on Gary Harris, 2.5x on Goga, doubled up Jalen Suggs, 35% of an 8% owned Mo Wagner, and 35% Paolo Banchero. Bring on the magic.
I love how our shows have just recently turned into you are jamming chalk and I'm just fading them across the board. My highest owned guy from Orlando is Banchero at 23%. So I am over the field on him. He's getting 17% ownership. After that, though, I think I'm under on pretty much everybody. I'm getting to a lot of Orlando players, but 14% Cole Anthony. So I'm around half the field there. 12% Jalen Suggs. So I'm under the field there. 11% Harris, 10% Mo Wagner. So a little bit over on Mo Wagner. A little bit under on Harris, 9% Franz Wagner, about half the field, 6% Goga, well under the field. I think that's a spot where a lot of my Goga is probably just turning into Gafford, which I don't mind given the ownership disparity.
I don't want 69% Goga right now. I'm very, very not happy with that.
But this is another spot where, I think it's a very, very good spot against Washington. I'm happy to get to whatever guys from Orlando I get to. It's just very similar to yesterday where when you get ugly slates, you get a lot of ownership going to the few good spots on the slate. And it is a good spot. But again, it's not like these guys are massively underpriced. They're just in a better matchup than most people, which is a different level of it. Just means that there's going to be people around them in salary that project within like 2 or 3 points instead of it being, everybody around them is 7 points behind them. How can you get away from them? Here it's just like, all right, well, I realize it's a good spot, but I'm going to just try and let variance do its thing. And hopefully it's just a low scoring night and I can win a tournament.
Per dunks and threes, Washington second in pace, 5th worst defensive rating. This is dream spot type stuff for Orlando. Yeah, I've got all these dudes.
I'm really happy with the current ownership. I am happy that Banchero is the guy I'm getting the most of. Like he's the 5th highest owned guy, 6th highest owned guy on the team.
I think he's the best play on the team, and I don't think it's all that close. Like I think he looks better than Franz for sure.
1.12 one of the DraftKings points per minute.
Yeah, he's been like, he looks good. He looks good. This team's weird, man.
They need to free Jonathan Isaac. I mean, if you free Jonathan Isaac, you're not going to see the dude play an NBA game for another 3 years.
Yeah, they're not using Jonathan Isaac incorrectly. They are using him the only way that they can use him so that they can actually be on the floor. They want to free John Isaac. That dude is going to just be out for the season for some other team. I think they'd like to play him, but he's been injured for 3 years. In fact, I am quite confident that Orlando would prefer to have him be playing 30 minutes a night. It would be their dream.
It sucks that he can't.
Yeah.
Just from Orlando has the potential to be a really fun team standpoint.
Yeah. That Franz, John Isaac, Paolo Banchero 3-4-5 combo that you could roll out would be. How much have they done? They couldn't have done it much this year, right? the amount of minutes that those three guys have been on the floor this season has to be pretty minimal, is my guess. Let's see. On court, Franz. On court, Isaac. On court, Banchero. They have played 45 possessions together, dead neutral. Zero. They are ranked 0 percentile in offense and 100th percentile in defense, which could be anything in 45 possessions. I mean, one of them is Suggs and Anthony. The most is Suggs and Anthony Black. You would want that to be Fultz, Suggs, Anthony in some sort of trio. Take two of them. Anything else for Orlando other than this is just like sort of very clearly a team that you've got to get to with some regularity. Like they grade out well.
Yeah, they look good. Like I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have at least 6 guys that are 9%. I have 9% or more of 6 guys. 7 if you include 6% Goga. So like I'm getting to these guys. It's just right now that they're pretty much all projected to go over owned and they're all getting a lot of ownership. So it's just I'm pivoting to some other spots.
Yeah. Phoenix Suns are 2-point favorites in Toronto, 222 total. Not a lot that we can do here. For Phoenix, Grayson Allen questionable, Kevin Durant questionable. Whether or not those guys play, especially Kevin Durant, obviously a giant trickle-down effect to whether or not you want to get to Devin Booker. If those guys are in, I find Phoenix to be like grossly unappealing. 7% ownership to, if you want to know what this slate is, 7% ownership to Drew Eubanks is the highest mark for the Suns. They're taking on a Toronto team that is on the second half of a back-to-back. Let me guess, you're getting a lot of Phoenix.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
7% Nurk is my highest owned guy. And again, that's fine. You know, the field's playing a lot of Goga. I'm 2x on Nurk. Not the same price range, but still, you know, a mid-range center that has a ceiling. Don't mind getting a little bit over on him. I'm getting 4% Durant, 3% Gordon and Allen, 2% Eubanks. Not getting to this team really.
No, I just don't see it. I really just don't see it. Now, okay, let's say Durant is out and Grayson Allen is out. Obviously, we like Devin Booker a lot more than we do right now. He's just going to take every shot he wants. He's just going to have the ball in his hands for basically every single possession that exists while he's on the floor. Do we like anybody else at that point?
What was your question?
Cool. If Durant isn't playing, what does that do to us in terms of Booker and the rest of this team? Or if we don't get Allen as well?
Yeah, it makes everybody look better. You know, Booker's obviously going to look better without Durant. There's going to be more offensive opportunities for guys like Allen, Eric Gordon, Bates Diop starts to look better. Their prices have already come up enough to where I don't necessarily think if Durant's out, you have some sort of like slam dunk play that can't miss in terms of value, but the team goes from looking close to unplayable to, you know, secondary plays probably.
Yeah. Yeah, like Booker's already 10-3. All you're just getting him to is you can use him more. But right now, like getting to Devin Booker seems very, very difficult. And then we go to the Toronto side where they're on a second half of a back-to-back. It's kind of hard to talk about this team, but if you just assume this is the same team that we got yesterday, 12% ownership to Schroeder, 14 to Jakob Poeltl, 10 to OG. I have quite a bit more OG Anunoby.
Yeah, I have 16% Anunoby. He's my second highest owned guy from Toronto right now. How much are you getting to?
I have 11 Schroeder, 22 Jake Puddle. So I guess he's like a little bit more of my Gafford, I guess.
I'm with you.
And then 46% OG Anunoby.
That's a lot. Yeah, I'm closer to the field. I have 16% Anunoby. Poeltl's my highest owned guy from Toronto. I have 21% right now. Field's at 14%. So again, he's another guy. He's more expensive than Goga, but he's still in that range where you can kind of build pretty similar lineups. It's a $700 difference. So I am getting more Poeltl at like half the ownership of Goga. Perfectly fine with that. Getting the 16% Schroeder as well as Anunoby. So a little bit over on Schroeder. 11% Siakam, who was terrible yesterday, but I'm 2x the field on him. Seems like I'm getting to this low to mid 8K range at power forward quite a bit. I was getting over the field on Kuzma. I'm over the field on Siakam. I was over the field on Banchero. So that seems like a range that is pretty useful, at least for me in roster construction right now. Getting the 5% Scotty Barnes, which is pretty much in line with the field. So even though I don't love this game or team or anything, I am over the field or even with them on all 5 Toronto starters.
Okay. Scotty Barnes, by the way, 55% true shooting for the season, 35th percentile. Coming back down to earth offensively. Still good. Pump the brakes, everybody. But that is not an efficient man with the ball in his hands. And look, we need to get the injury report. Who knows how this is going to change? Anything else you want to touch on from Toronto?
No.
Well, now we could touch on Underdog, sponsor of this video. Lots to like about Underdog. We can start with the obvious. They will match your first deposit up to $100 as long as you click the link in the description of this video. That's not where it ends, though. You can kind of go to Underdog for whatever you want. Pick'em contests. If you're in a non-legal sports betting state, you can get into their Pick'em contest. Win up to 20x your money. Daily fantasy contest. Large field GPPs, standard issue stuff there. Don't be afraid to just play your fantasy contests. Best ball. I assume best ball is the thing Underdog is most known for. People love it for football, basketball, baseball, whatever best ball you're looking for, you're going to find it at Underdog. Gold standard, in my opinion. And then playoff drafts. NBA, NHL, PGA majors really changes the game up a little bit for you in the playoff streets. This is you just get a lot of whatever you're looking for at Underdog, and you can double your money on your first deposit up to $100. Seems pretty simple to me. If you are concerned with your gambling, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, and you got to be 18 or over to do all of this stuff, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Oh, by the way, on Underdog tonight, don't want to miss it. Free Square tonight, and it is for tomorrow, I believe. Cowboys game tomorrow, if that makes sense to you guys. The Free Square is for Thursday Night Football. Dak Prescott higher than 0.5 total yards. Don't be afraid to take advantage of that one. Utah Jazz, 4.5-point underdogs in Memphis, 224 total for Utah. Jordan Clarkson, questionable. Kelly Olynyk, questionable. Lauri Markkanen is out. Highest owned guy for Utah right now is 5% ownership to a $5,900 Walker Kessler. Very interesting. Who are they going to start? Yurtseven, Kessler. That is up for debate right now. What is not up for debate is how unappealing Utah looks.
Yeah, I'm always hesitant now when you say that, and I haven't looked at my exposures yet because I just assume I'm going to have like 80%. But no,
there are times where I know it is, and then there are times where I know you're going to be able to like have pivots. This isn't one where you're going to be interested.
Yeah. Collins rather is my highest owned guy right now at about 11%, 4% ownership, 7% chance of being optimal. So another power forward where he's not as expensive as the other guys, but I'm just getting over the field on him. Other than that, 5% Fontecchio, 5% Yurtseven, 3% apiece to Clarkson and George, very small amounts of Olynyk and Sexton. I don't have any Walker Kessler right now. I do think he is interesting at 5,900. He's not really getting any ownership. We currently have him at 28 minutes and I'm not getting there. So maybe he's not that interesting. I thought we might have a lower minutes projection, but the reason I was going to say he's interesting is that he came off the bench again last game, but he did close that game. He did get to 26 minutes. And I think it's just a matter of time before he's back in the starting lineup and pushing 30 minutes probably. But the fact that we have him projected for 28 minutes and I'm still not getting him makes me think that maybe it just doesn't really matter here.
I mean, he's a fan. If you're at 28 minutes and you're talking, 1.1 to 1.15 fantasy points per minute, he's a better play than Daniel Gafford.
Okay, well, we don't have him projected that. We have him at 23.5 DraftKings points in 28 minutes.
Well, that should get corrected by the time we get to lock.
Yeah. So
those numbers should be like flipped. It should be 28 fantasy points in 23 minutes.
So I'll go back to what I was originally saying. Walker Kessler does have the potential to be interesting here because he did play 26 minutes last game. He did close once we have an actual projection for him. he will look better if you give him 28 minutes. But if he's coming off the bench, I don't think he should be going to 28. I think it should be like 24 to 26, 25, 26, somewhere in there. But if he's starting, he's probably getting, back up 28 to 30.
Yeah. I went to 25 for right now, just because we obviously don't know. I think he looks solid, but I don't think he looks he looks like Goga. He looks like Gafford. He looks like Jakob Poeltl. All these guys basically look the same in the same general salary area, at least for me right now. Your mileage may vary on which one you end up getting to for roster construction and stuff. But if you get Walker Kessler starting and playing 28 minutes, he is better than everybody that I just named, I think. Anything else for Utah?
No.
Memphis. This one's different because Memphis gets to face Utah. That's a benefit. Utah's defense, atrocious. 23, let's just say 25% ownership to Biyombo, Derrick Rose at 4,400, and Desmond Bane. 20 to Jalen Noel, flat 3K shooting guard, small forward. That's a conversation that we really need to have right now because I gave him 12 minutes. 35 minutes or 35% ownership to Santi Aldama, and 45 to the clear, to me, best play on the slate, $7,400 power forward center, Jaren Jackson Jr. I have 69, which is quite nice. But I also have 50 of Biyombo, 50 of Bane, and 35 of Aldama. Give me the Grizz.
Yeah. Okay, so I have 25% Jaren Jackson, which is like half the field. Still getting there. It's a good spot. I think there's a good chance I probably get more by lock, but I kind of figured I was going to be under the field on him once I was over the field on Kuzma and Banchero and Collins and these other power forwards. So this is another spot where I'm getting to him, just not as much as the field. How much Derrick Rose are you getting to?
0. Straight 0. A flat 0.
How many minutes do you have him in for?
18.
Okay, we have him in for 22, and that is getting me 87%.
I have 18. I got him projected for a fantasy point per minute. He's been at 0.82 for the season. So I think I'm probably being aggressive. 21.6 is the most minutes he's played so far this season. 14, 16, 21.5, 19.7. Feel pretty good with 18.
Yeah, so he played 20 last game. We have him at 21.7. We also have him right now at almost 1.1 fantasy points per minute. So this is just
definitely a better per minute guy than Walker Kessler.
Yeah. So this is a situation where I'm getting a ton of Derrick Rose and it's throwing off my other exposures.
Yeah.
If somehow he's projected like this at lock, then yeah, he'd be a great play. We have him 41% to be optimal, 26% owned, but that's just not going to be the case. So can't really take exposures in general, and definitely that exposure with any weight, but that's where I'm getting right now. I'm getting to Aldama. Bane looks fine. Biyombo looks fine. Biyombo 23% owned, so very comparable to Goga at that price point. Memphis looks great pretty much across the board. Obviously, again, I think I'm not going to end up getting that much Derrick Rose, but
yeah. Are you getting Jalen Noel?
No.
Okay. 20% owned right now.
Who?
Jalen Noel.
What are you talking about? He's not even in our ownership projections.
Well, then how the hell do I have a 19% next to Jalen Noel?
Or he's not in the boom bust tool.
Well, he is in the ownership projections at 19%. 1 percentage point ahead of Jabari Smith. Anyway, I have 0 Jalen Noel.
He's not in our player projections, so no, I'm not getting him.
Interesting. He's there now. I can't remember if it's a 10-day or a 2-way or whatever they signed him to, but he is there, played a little bit in their most recent game. You're going to have to see him play a lot more, but he is the flat 3K shooting guard, small forward. On a day with no value to speak of, I get why that shows up. Not sure I love it. I'm really happy to have 50 to 55% plus of Bane and Jackson, though. If I'm going to get that, I'm really happy to get it when Memphis is actually a 4.5 point favorite against Utah. These are the two guys, Jackson in particular, a $7,400 price tag. Has he been great this year? No, but he's like a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy, has the power forward center eligibility. I love this dude tonight.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, good spot. And I do think I probably get more of him once the Derrick Rose thing is fixed. Just because when Derrick Rose looks that under projected and I'm just jamming him into a bunch of lineups, it's allowing me to easily get to like Banchero and Kuzma ahead of Jackson. Whereas if that value doesn't look as good, then the savings on Jackson look a lot more useful. So I do think I get more of that. But yeah, it looks like a great spot for him. As far as Noel goes, I am interested. Played 13 and a half minutes, including garbage time in the second half last game. But his second half rotation, he played like 10 minutes at min salary. He's especially as long as other value doesn't look great. He's going to look pretty good.
Yeah, he's an issue. And then Aldama, I think, is just like a guy you got to get to with an MPE and playing the minutes. Like they just don't have enough bodies to stop him from being interesting today.
Do you think he starts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you not?
He didn't start the second half last game.
Who did?
Roddy.
Big Body Roddy?
Yeah.
I assume he does.
Yeah, his second half.
By the way, I only gave him 30 minutes, so I do think I'm like mitigating that a little bit.
Yeah, he only played.
He's probably playing like 28 either way.
He only played 8 minutes and 40 seconds in the second half last game.
Now they did lose by 23.
Yeah,
and they were getting the shit kicked out of them. I wonder if that stagger was on purpose, because like they yanked Roddy after 2.5 minutes. No, that's Biombo. They yanked Biombo after 2.5 minutes for, I don't know, reasons.
Yeah, weird. So definitely something to keep an eye on, because if he's not starting, obviously his minutes projection should be going down.
Yeah, that's really weird, because he got the first quarter full giant stagger rotation in the middle and then closed the second half. I mean, he played like I'm thinking, just based on his rotation, that he didn't come back in the fourth quarter because this game was just dead.
Yeah, I think that's likely, but it's more like if he's coming off the bench, I don't really know how you give him more than like 26 minutes.
I don't think they're going to start Roddy over him. They can. But yeah, I think you would have to at best think like 26 if he's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
But like I said, I have 30, and I think that what's driving 35% ownership on him right now is more than a 30-minute projection.
Yeah, I mean, we have him at 32 minutes right now.
Yeah. Which is like, if he closes, is real.
Yeah, which is getting me 28%. So like slightly under the field, but right around it.
Yeah, him starting will matter. We probably won't have that information, but I think you have to I think you have to, would you assume that he is? Is that your, like, where would you want to go for his minutes projection then? 30, 32, somewhere in that neighborhood? 28 to 32?
If he starts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you won't know it. So like heading into lock.
I mean, I think you kind of just have to decide if you think he's starting or not. I don't think you hedge it. Decide if he's starting, and if he's not, then you late swap.
There you go. Right, but like going into that, would your assumption be, or do you think he's starting? Like,
yeah,
that's my question to you.
I would guess he's starting, but I think it's a legitimate question.
I agree. I got nothing else from Memphis.
Agreed.
The Philadelphia 76ers are 1-point favorites in New Orleans, 227 total. No Daniel House, no Jaden Springer. Kelly Oubre still out with his phantom car accident. 27% ownership coming into $4,200 Nick Batum, 17 to DeAnthony Melton, 12 to Pat Bev, around 10 to Maxey, Harris, Covington, just 5 to an 11-8 Embiid. I can't get to Embiid. Like, I don't mind if I do, but we don't have any real good value. So getting to the top is incredibly difficult. I have 15% of Batum and 21% of $3,700 Robert Covington, and I would like that to go away. Philly's like the inverse of anything. I'm getting to the shittiest players, and I'm not getting to the guys that have real talent.
Yeah, I mean, I have 54% Batum right now, so kind of the same page there. We have him with 26.5% ownership, 32% chance of being optimal. So again, I think this probably partly turns into somebody else by lock, but right now he does look like one of the better values at 4,200. He's the guy I'm getting the most of from this team. 13% Harris, 12% Patrick Beverly, which is in line with the field, and I certainly wouldn't mind if that goes away. Difficult getting to Embiid. I have 9%, so I'm still like 2x the field, but it's just tough to get that much of him. 12% Melton, 6% Maxey. Mostly around the field on these guys, other than getting a lot of Batum.
I have literally 0 shares of anybody in the 10K plus range. Not a single lineup in any of them. It's nuts. It's just like, that's a testament to what's happening today. We don't have anything out there. It's a weird slate. I wish I had more to say here for Philly, but they don't have any real question marks. The Pels do. And I don't even think it matters what the answers to those question marks are. CJ McCollum is questionable. Trey Murphy, doubtful. Matt Ryan, doubtful. Look, if CJ's playing today after missing 2 weeks with a collapsed lung, he's not playing 35 minutes.
You would think.
You wouldn't expect it. So if he's in, these guys look awful. And that's shown in the ownership. 1% to Herb, Joval, and Zion. Even if CJ is out, though, I don't really see anything here where you're like, oh, I need to get $9,100 Brandon Ingram or 9K Zion. I think they look absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I'm not getting to like anything here. The field's not getting to anything here. The highest optimal percentage here is 4% to Herb Jones. I have 1% Alvarado. I have 1% Joval, and that is all I have. Again, that's assuming that McCollum's in.
Yeah, it's just like take him out though, and it's still, not a great price tag for Brandon Ingram. Doesn't have the MPE. Zion's whatever, 9K power forward only. Like, do you want to go back to $8,300 Zion on FanDuel at power forward? Yes, still a very good play there. Either way you want to go, but on DraftKings, I could not have less interest.
Agreed. Yeah, and
it's bleak.
And like you said, like 9,100 Ingram, shooting guard only, 9K Zion. Even if McCollum's out, these are secondary plays at best.
Yeah, really, really unappealing game to get to. Between these two teams, the most popular guys are like Covington, Pat Bev, and like Nick Batum. Yeah. It's a giant barf of a game. Giant barf. Okay. Let's go to Houston. On the back-to-back, 6.5-point dogs in Denver, 217 total. For the Rockets, like I said, back-to-back, we don't know who's available, but I think projecting them like they're normal is the right way to do this. I did take Tari Eason out of my projections. He did not play their most recent back-to-back. Feel safe that he doesn't play here. Doesn't really seem like an action item that matters. 22% ownership to Alperen Şengün, 10 to Fred VanVleet, 18 to Jabari Smith. Much like yesterday, I don't really have these dudes, but I'm assuming you are getting to Houston.
I'm not getting too much. Şengün's my highest owned guy at 16%. So slightly under the field, but not too far. Still an $8,500 price tag that's going to look good. 1.3 fantasy points per minute. He's just a really good player. He's averaging about 33 minutes per game this season. So barring foul trouble, the playing time should be there. There's just a million center options, but happy to get to him. Other than that, though, 6% Dylan Brooks is my next highest guy. I have 5% Eason, who we do currently have projected in. I'm not with the field on Jabari Smith. Field's at 18%. I'm at like 5. I'm not really getting to this team outside of Şengün.
Yeah, I have 3 of Şengün, 1 Brooks, 11 Jabari, 4 Jalen Green. We're talking about the Denver Nuggets, 26th in pace, taking on the Houston Rockets, 27th in pace. Neither one of these teams are like, they're both at least average to slightly better than average defensively. This is very clearly the worst DFS environment that exists for today in terms of a slowdown matchup against functional teams. Yep. And we have no idea what's going on the Denver side. Houston on the back-to-back after a game that they wanted to like push for, heading to elevation to play Denver. The letdown capabilities that are on paper here for Houston are massive.
Yeah, and they did play pretty big minutes, not as many as they had played the previous game, but you still got 33.5 from Jalen Green, you got 35 from Şengün, you got 41 from VanVleet, you got 36.5 from Jabari Smith, who still managed to suck in that amount of time. But yeah, I agree with you. And then one other thing to mention as far as like my own exposures right now, I think Jabari Smith at 6,100 is another one of those, kind of like I was saying with Jaren Jackson. Once I don't have the wrong projection on Derrick Rose, and I can't just use him as value in every lineup, Jabari Smith becomes more helpful, and I start to lose some of that Kuzma and Banchero, where now I'm like paying up to be contrarian because it's easy. Once Derrick Rose looks less appealing, that's harder to do.
There's literally nothing we can do here for Denver. Q tag on Gordon, Q tag on Jokic, Q tag on Murray. But I do think that it's pretty safe to say you're not really going, like, I don't want to play anybody from Denver really, no matter what.
I'm shocked.
If all 3 of them are out, then yeah, like we're probably going to look at Reggie Jackson and Peyton Watson and a $100 DeAndre Jordan. But like even one dude coming back out of that group, or even if it's just Jokic, like 12-8 for Jokic is about as impossible as it can get to on this slate as of right now. They all look awful in this matchup.
With everybody projected in, I have 3% Jokic, and that is the extent of Denver.
Yeah, I have straight 0 across the board. You can't imagine that Jamal Murray is going to come back and play like big minutes. They have no incentive to do that. Similar story for Gordon. Like, I don't think he's just going to step into 34 again. Jokic, I assume, just plays like his normal run, but at 12-8, like he just feels unattainable. Happy to get whatever I can get out of him. But again, terrible, slow-paced matchup.
Yeah,
it's just so game.
It's really tough to get there because you have Embiid for less. You don't have good value on this slate. We've already mentioned, in my case right now, it's Derrick Rose and Nick Batum. I mean, that's really, really tough. And then you have the matchup too, which, when it comes to somebody like Jokic, we've talked about it a couple times recently. It's not that you're that worried about the matchup from an efficiency standpoint. Like, Jokic is a freak. He's going to score on anybody, but he can't just magically add possessions to the game, no matter how good he is.
No, this one looks downright bad. Now, if they're all out again, then find yourself some DeAndre Jordan at 4,400. Find yourself a little bit of Reggie Jackson. Peyton Watson's 3,700. Strother's 3,800. Like, we'll find a little bit of value around these parts, but I don't really see a situation. Like, KCP is 6K.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know if I would take, like, if they played a doubleheader tonight, I don't think he's paying off 6K. Just brutal. Really, really hard to get to this one. 600 people in here, over 100 likes. Make sure you hit that like button. We're going to close it out now. Late night hammer. Might have to get into this showdown as well. Bink another showdown. Clippers, 1.5-point favorites in Sacramento, 230 total. Clippers don't have anybody relevant out that we don't know. It's still Mason Plumlee. Kings on the back-to-back. I guess we're going to need the Murray status. I left him out for now. If he was just out all day yesterday, I think I feel pretty good about it. 15% ownership to Zubats, 15 to Kawhi, 10 to Paul George and James Harden. I think those are the 4 guys you want to prioritize. Terrence Mann's minutes ticking up makes me scared, and I'll get a little bit, but I don't want to. I am not jamming Kawhi Leonard, though. Interesting enough. I wouldn't have minded if I did it this time, but I think like all 4 of those guys I mentioned are all just sort of all right.
Yeah, I agree. Kawhi's my highest owned guy right now. I have 23%. Certainly another one of these guys where I'm a little bit over the field on an 8K power forward. As I start liking Derrick Rose less, that could easily just be turning into more Jabari Smith and Jaren Jackson. But Kawhi looks pretty good. 1.07 DraftKings points per minute in the 11 games now that he's played with Harden and with George. 25.2% usage rate, 34 minutes per game. I'm getting to 14% Zubats at 5,500, 14% owned. So another center in that range that's getting a little bit less ownership than Goga. Perfectly fine with that. Getting to... Just lost it. 10% Powell, 9% Harden, 8% Paul George, a little bit of Tice, a little bit of Mann. So Kawhi's my highest owned guy here. Other than that, I'm mostly around the field on most of these guys.
Yeah, I just have I have basically 5% of Zubats, Harden, Leonard, Powell, George, and Mann. And it's just like, okay, that works for me. The Terrence Mann minutes are tricky. I don't want to project him like he's going to play 28 or 29 because then I'm going to start getting him. And every time I play that dude, he is like 0 for 2 from the field and has a stat line that looks like he didn't play, but he did play. It's so easy for him to disappear.
Yeah, Mann feels so bad to roster. But then when you get the game like against Dallas where he's cutting to the rim and just getting easy dunks and getting out in transition, it's like, oh, this is great. And then you go like 6 more games where he just like doesn't take a shot.
Yeah. Terrence Mann, here are his DraftKings points totals. 10.5, 24.25, 23, 24.25, by the way, on 17 points. That's one offensive rebound. No, 2 offensive rebounds, 1 defensive rebound, 1 assist. 23, 15, 18, 17. Like at his price tag, 4,500. Like, is that what it is? 4,500. Yeah. You need way more than anything he's been doing.
Have you looked at the rates for Harden, George, and Kawhi since they all started playing together?
I did previously to the previous game. So whenever they played most recently, when I was getting a shit ton of Kawhi and I was like, I got to take a look at this.
Yeah.
So I was able to like make some adjustments.
They've all been 1 to 1.1 DraftKings points per minute.
Yeah.
1 DraftKings point per minute for Harden, 107, I think, for Kawhi, 1.11 for George. Only an 18% usage rate for Harden, but a 28% assist percentage. George leads the way, 28.5% usage, and Kawhi is in the middle at like 25%.
We close this one out with the Sacramento Kings. Assuming Murray is still out and we're getting the same thing that we've been getting from Sacramento. I made this joke to you already, but so proud of myself for being able to pick up a showdown win with Sacramento without knowing anybody that was at the game. That information.
Yeah. How did you do that without Monty McNair texting you?
I have no idea how I was able to pull that off, but I was able to get lucky enough to get that one done. 8% ownership to Monk and Trey Lyles are the high marks, unless you play on FanDuel, where 5K Kevin Huerter's 26% owned, $5,300 Monk is 20, and 4K Trey Lyles at power forward is 20. I basically don't have these dudes. I think Fox and Sabonis just look a lot like all those other 9K, 10K dudes, and I'm not really getting to any of them specifically. It's really hard to pay up, and when everybody looks the same, it's even harder to just pick one. I have 9% Monk. That's it.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just around the field on these guys. We also have Keegan Murray projected in right now, so that could change a little bit. But I have 11% Trey Lyles at 4,500, Fields at 8%. I have 7% Monk, Fields at 7%. Really weird rotation for him yesterday. Played like 8 minutes in the first half, to the point where one of the Sacramento beat writers even tweeted out, like, Malik Monk is on the bench to start the second half. I don't know what, if anything, was wrong with him in the first half. And then he plays the final like 15 minutes of the game, and you end up with like 26 minutes. But at 5,800, I'm getting a little bit of him. I agree with you on Sabonis and Fox. I have 3% apiece. It's just very, very difficult to get to either of them. I am getting a lot more Anthony Davis than Sabonis in that price range.
Yeah. Do you think DraftKings is ever going to go ahead and give Trey Lyles the power forward eligibility he's supposed to have?
That would be nice.
Feels a little weird. Although, don't get me wrong. He is playing a giant chunk of backup center, but yesterday when Sabonis was off the floor in the first half, it was JaVale McGee. So, that's Trey Lyles. A little bit in the second half for sure, but also playing alongside Domantas Sabonis for large stretches. He is power forward center. He is such a different play today. He's probably 25% owned, given where some of this value is, but since he's center only, you just can't do it.
Yep.
Anything else?
No.
Sorry we don't have any promos going on, folks, but you can still sign up at Stokastic, grab the Sims tool, grab the lineup generator across multiple sports. We're a great place to be. Adam's got an article, which should be great for the pay-up options today, along with videos. I've got contenders and prize picks coming out. Back on the winning ways for prize picks. Picked up the dub yesterday. Shout out to Clint Capella and Mark Williams, I think. Maybe it wasn't Capella, or it was. I don't know. I can't keep track. Either way, I won. Anything else?
No, that's it.
I can't even imagine what you're laughing at right now. Thank you guys for joining us. Underdog is the sponsor. Thank them. Thank Jordan for waking up at the right time of 9:59 a.m. to get this one going. It's been fun, everybody. Good luck tonight. We'll talk to you for the deeper dive at 5.